And your run in New Orleans was unbelievable. Again, you sort of legitimized the franchise you and Drew together, took them places that they had never been. If it doesn't work that way in Denver, are you okay with it?
Yeah, but it's gonna.
So my team doesn't get back from vacation until tomorrow, but this news was so crazy that I really couldn't wait to get you guys this video. It's very rare that you see this much incompetence all blended into one. It's like incompetence within incompetence at the same time, and it's very eerily reminiscent to what happened last year with the Las Vegas Raiders. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. If you want to get some of our extra content a little earlier, consider joining our channel membership program. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! We made $1,100 off of a $20 entry on Prize Picks. And it wasn't just me, it was everyone that followed these picks on my Instagram story. And the best feeling is the amount of people that made money as a result of this. I mean, bam, 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 bam! My DMs were flooded, so the best part for me was seeing you guys make money as well. But we're not done yet. If you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, use my promo code Mikerophone to double your deposit up until $100 on Prize Picks. And I give away my picks on a daily basis for free on my Instagram story and now my Snapchat story. We're having so much fun doing this. I'm so happy that I made you guys some money. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The summer of 2022 is one of my favorite off seasons of all time. There was so much chaos that ensued, particularly in the AFC West. And one of my favorite moves, or at least the Denver Broncos' least favorite move, was the Broncos going all in on a Russell Wilson trade, trading Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, alongside 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick in order to get Russell Wilson. My favorite part about this entire move is Russell Wilson still had 2 years left on his contract. So the Denver Broncos gave up all of that capital, and they could have just tested him out. And if it didn't work out for the next 2 years, they'd have flexibility to move on from him, which would have been the intelligent thing to do, considering that Russell Wilson was traded there when he was about to go into his age 34 season. But for some reason, the Denver Broncos, maybe they were romanticizing what Tom Brady was doing, and at the time Russell Wilson set the goal of trying to have a Tom Brady-like career playing into his 40s, for some reason, the Broncos felt like if they extended Russell Wilson now, then his contract was going to be a bargain by the time he turned 37 or 38. I'm trying to make sense out of a truly horrific decision. But immediately, Russell Wilson signed a $235 million contract over the next 5 years. And the craziest part is it doesn't kick in until this offseason. Keep that in mind. So I don't need to remind you what a dumpster fire year 1 was for the Denver Broncos. It was bad. It was Melvin Gordon giving Russell Wilson a death stare during a horrific nationally televised game bad. It was KJ Hamler smashing his helmet when he was wide open for a game-winning touchdown, but Russell Wilson missed him bad. It was the worst season of Russell Wilson's career, but the Denver Broncos were trapped. You extended Russell Wilson, and he's not even in year 1 of his contract extension. You had a brand new head coach and a brand new quarterback, and you essentially had to choose one person as the fall guy. And to be honest, I think the Denver Broncos made the right choice. I mean, whenever your home crowd is counting the play clock to assist you, then clearly there is a lack of preparation going on there. And Russell Wilson's fall off was unprecedented. So the Denver Broncos had no choice. They fired Nathaniel Hackett and they doubled down on their decision to bring in Russell Wilson. Maybe if they got him a legendary Hall of Fame head coach that has practically the same track record as Mike McCarthy, maybe Russell Wilson would be able to return to form. And something really strange happened. You see, the Denver Broncos did make a magnificent trade for Sean Payton, where he was traded from the Saints to the Broncos for a first-round pick and a second-round pick, and the Saints gave up a third-round pick and Sean Payton. And almost immediately, Sean Payton would declare war on Russell Wilson and the way the Denver Broncos of 2022 were doing things.
On the 30-second
Coach, Russell Wilson had a personal coach, Jake Hughes, in the building with access who wasn't on the staff.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that.
How do you feel about players having their own people off the staff in the building, access to the players?
Yeah, that's foreign to me. That's not going to take place here. I mean, I'm unfamiliar with it, but our staff will be here, our players will be here, and that'll be it.
And it seemed like from the very start, Sean Payton made it seem like Russell Wilson wasn't 100% his guy, making it obvious that if he wasn't able to win with Russell Wilson, he would move on from Russell Wilson. The problem is, how do you move on from a quarterback that is set to make $49 million a year on average for the next 5 years when the contract extension hasn't even kicked in? As a matter of fact, the only other time that we've seen a situation like this was with the Las Vegas Raiders. If you remember, during the 2021 season, the Las Vegas Raiders went through a lot between the Henry Ruggs tragedy, John Gruden resigning, and Damon Arnett being John Morant before John Morant. Derek Carr and interim head coach Rich Bisaccia were able to take the Las Vegas Raiders all the way to the playoffs, while also handing Brandon Staley his first embarrassing decision of his career. The Raiders rewarded Derek Carr with a 3-year, $121.5 million contract extension. They also decided to move on from Rich Bisaccia, bringing in Josh McDaniels. They also traded for Derek Carr's best friend and collegiate #1 wide receiver Devontae Adams. And after Derek Carr took a huge step back, they decided 2 weeks before the end of the season to bench him, just to make sure that he wouldn't get injured, and would have Jarrett Stidham start in his place.
We're going to go ahead and start Jarrett the last couple games of the season here. You know, none of us is happy with where we're at, but we think it's an opportunity to, you know, evaluate a younger player who hasn't had much time to play. You know, talking to Derek, who was great. You know, he understands the scenario that we're in and the situation, and very supportive of the two young guys. Those three guys obviously have worked together hand in hand all year, and you know, he'll do anything he can to help them. So, you know, that's what we're going to do.
And now the exact same thing is happening with Russell Wilson, although it's a little bit more bizarre. I will admit, Russell Wilson has improved this season. He isn't nearly as bad as he was last season. I mean, he has a 66.4% completion percentage. He's thrown 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He has a QBR of a 50.6 and a passer rating of a 98. He's had 4 game-winning drives this year. But despite that, the Denver Broncos are benching Russell Wilson. And this isn't just a regular benching. If you realize why they're benching Russell Wilson, you would know that this is the end. So the Broncos had a huge decision to make on Russell Wilson. You either could start Russell Wilson in the final 2 games, but if he gets injured, you guarantee him $37 million, or you could sit him for the rest of the way. The Broncos have about a 1.4% chance of making it into the playoffs, and they also need to decide whether or not they want to keep Russell Wilson for 2025. Because if they released him by March 17th, they would eat $39 million for 2024. So pretty much, if the Denver Broncos are comfortable moving forward with Russell Wilson, they would play him for the final 2 games, because you're going to keep him on your roster anyway. It doesn't matter if you're guaranteeing that money. But this morning, we found out that they aren't playing Russell Wilson for the final 2 games. According to Adam Schefter, Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton has informed his team that Jarrett Stidham will start Sunday versus the Chargers, with Russell Wilson as the backup. With a 1-3 record in the last 4 games, Denver is looking to spark its offense and see what it has in Stidham. That isn't 100% true. I mean, if you're keeping Russell Wilson, you have no problem playing him in the final 2 games. Russell Wilson already has $39 million guaranteed for 2024, but he has an additional $37 million that would become guaranteed if he can't pass a physical by early March. Denver's move to sit him assures that money won't trigger. And Denver does this at a time when Russell Wilson is the NFL's 7th rated passer with 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Now, Sean Payton told Russell Wilson this information this morning. Jarrett Stidham's probably looking at Russell Wilson saying, don't worry, this isn't my first rodeo. And the thing that's bizarre about this situation is the financial part of this is insanity. And I had the same criticism of the Raiders last year. Russell Wilson signed a 5-year, $245 million contract extension last offseason with $124 million fully guaranteed. He still has 2 years left on his original Seattle deal, so Denver got him for a total of 7 years. Technically, the extension hasn't even started yet, and now it might be over. If the Broncos were to release Russell Wilson, he'll count $35.4 million in dead cap money in 2024 and $49.6 million in 2025. It was unquestionably one of the worst trades in NFL history. But that's if the Denver Broncos cut Russell Wilson. What if they don't cut Russell Wilson? Now you might be wondering, what do I mean by this? You see, Russell Wilson currently is the 7th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. When the extension kicks in year 1 of his extension, he is going to be the 7th highest paid QB in the NFL. That might drop to 8th when Trevor Lawrence gets a contract extension. I don't necessarily know if the Jaguars are going to beat what Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes got. I'm assuming Trevor Lawrence might get somewhere in the range of what Justin Herbert got. Maybe 53 million. I'm not necessarily sure how to gauge his current value. And that's before we bring up the fact that Dak Prescott is very likely to get a contract extension from the Dallas Cowboys. But when you take all of that into consideration, Russell Wilson becomes the 9th highest paid QB in the NFL. Once your quarterback becomes the 9th or 10th highest paid quarterback in the NFL, he's officially on a good contract. You just don't want to be in that top 5, which is why the Denver Broncos extended Russell Wilson to begin with. So by the time he enters year 1 of his contract, he's on a good contract. The problem is there probably aren't going to be any new QBs beating Joe Burrow's contract number for quite some time, which is why I also think the Cincinnati Bengals might be screwed. My point being, cutting Russell Wilson would be a horrific mistake. At this point, Russell Wilson is actually a tradable quarterback. And if they traded Russell Wilson, then obviously you would probably have to pay some of his dead cap, but not nearly as much as you would have if you just cut him outright when he enters year 1 of a contract extension. The problem with this is they're employing the same exact strategy that the Las Vegas Raiders did last year. And how did that turn out? Once everybody knows that you want to get rid of your quarterback and you don't want to go into another year with the quarterback, no one really offers you anything for them. And in the case of the Raiders, at least Derek Carr didn't get nearly as much of a commitment as Russell Wilson did, so the Raiders could cut him. But in the case of the Denver Broncos, if you cut Russell Wilson altogether, you're screwed. There is no point in doing that. There's no point in drafting a quarterback, having him on a rookie scale contract to develop with Sean Payton if you're still going to be paying another quarterback top 10 QB money. There's no point in doing that. It's either you trade Russell Wilson or you go into next season with Russell Wilson. But if you're benching Russell Wilson, you're communicating to everybody that you're officially done with him and you're trying to avoid paying him anything more and that you're looking for a replacement. Even if you're done with Russell Wilson, even if you wanted to rebuild, you should rebuild with Russell Wilson under center. You should address other parts of your team while you still have a player that is the 9th highest paid QB in the NFL and is 7th in the NFL in passing yards. Sean Payton did what he was supposed to do. At least statistically, he fixed Russell Wilson. Did he lose some games for the Broncos? Most definitely. But was he the sole reason why the Broncos were horrible this year? I wouldn't say so. At the end of the day, the longer they wait with Russell Wilson under center, the more they could address other parts of their team, the more tradable his contract becomes, and maybe they can move on from him in the future. And then when they don't have that dead cap hit, they could really enjoy the benefits of taking a quarterback in the NFL draft. But again, the whole appeal of taking a QB in the NFL draft is one, Obviously, the fan base gets excited whenever you take a quarterback with a high pick in the NFL draft. It results in more ticket sales, it results in more merchandise sales. But that aside, from a pure football perspective, the whole benefit of taking a quarterback in the first round of the NFL draft is his rookie scale contract. And if you're doing that while your previous QB has a huge dead cap hit on you, there's absolutely no point. The whole benefit of a rookie QB is gone, except obviously from the merchandising standpoint. So let me know in the comments section down below. The Denver Broncos pretty much announced that they're done with Russell Wilson. I'm interested in seeing what their plan is. Are they going to trade him? Are they going to cut him outright? If they cut him, who's going to replace him? If they trade him, who's going to accept him? I think if Bill Belichick stays with the Patriots, he might get traded to the Patriots, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.